Welcome to Andy's Garage. I'm Andy Phillips. Today I'm going to show you how to replace the V-belt or Serpentine belt on a Chevy Trailblazer with the 5.3 liter V8. Now this vehicle takes two. I'm talking about the one that goes around the tensioner and your accessories. That's the one we're talking about, not the drive one. I'm going to be doing a separate video on that if you want to subscribe to this channel, that'll be coming out next. But for this one, we're doing the one which is the one closest to the front near the fan. Let's go ahead and get started. It's best to remove the air intake assembly by disconnecting it from the mass airflow sensor. Then we're going to go ahead and remove the air cleaner up here at the top using the T27 Torx. And then we'll disconnect it from the throttle body, remove the whole assembly. That'll give us better access to get to the belt. It's always good to get in the habit of inspecting your belts. It is normal to have some surface cracks running this way because of the way that it bends, so that's not a big issue. But when you start to see them going in line with the belt, that's when you have problems. Or if you're seeing it starting to kind of wear or rub, as we're showing here. Here, take a look. If you look on the left side of the belt there, you can see how it's kind of wearing. Even on the right, it's getting a little bit of some fraying there. And this belt is old, so it's definitely time to go. So now let me show you what you'll need to complete this. This is a very easy task, doesn't require a lot, but this is what you'll need. First of all, you're obviously going to need your replacement belt. This particular one I picked up at Advance Auto. I'll put along the bottom the price. If you want to get it there, you can also order it online or any other automotive store. Next, you're going to need a ratchet and then just a 15mm socket. Now, looking in here from the front, normally you would have your cooling and radiator fan would be here, and then you would have the shroud or that plastic guard that goes around it in here. I've taken those off because I'm doing more work to this vehicle, but normally you can replace this belt without removing the fan. What you have here, that's your tensioner pulley, and once we put a socket and ratchet on that, we can crank that to release the tension and then just take the belt off, put the new one on. Now, you want to make sure that you know the pattern of the belt. As you can see how it's wrapping here, going all around like this. If you do come to a point where you're unsure after you take this off how it goes, on top of the shroud for the fan, it has a diagram. Let's take a look at that. This is the diagram. It's located on the left side of the shroud that goes around the cooling fan. And it shows you the diagrams for both belts. So you have the first one here, which is the air conditioned belt, which is behind the one that we're going to be replacing in this video. Then here's the Serpentine drive belt that we're working with, and it shows you how it wraps around the different pulleys, so that way you know exactly how it goes when you put the new one on. Before I take the belt off, I just want to kind of explain what it's going around for your knowledge and when it's time to put it back on. So, as we start off here, you have what's known as either a guide pulley or an idler pulley. The belt then wraps around the belt tensioner, which is the one that when we turn the ratchet, it will release the tension and take it off. Going all the way down, it wraps around the crankshaft pulley and then kind of loops this way, comes up here, wraps around the water pump pulley, which is where the fan connects, dips down around the power steering pulley, comes up around the alternator, and then to the idler where we started. So that's kind of the pattern, how it's wrapping around. Bringing in the ratchet, we have the 15mm socket. Just slide it right on here. And if you turn it clockwise to the right, you see how that tensioner pulley just loosens up, and then you can just slide the belt right off. And then when you put the new one on, you'll just have to release it a little bit to the right, and then when you let it go, it'll tighten up. And the cool thing with these is that it tightens up to the correct tension. I've had some vehicles I've worked on where you have to manually kind of set the tension. So this is good because when you let it go, then you got the right tension. Now sometimes these can fail. You'd have to replace it. That's an easy replace. From right here, you've got the bolt on that side. I believe there's another one down here on the bottom, and then you can swap those out if need be. But let's go ahead and take the belt off. Release the tension by turning the belt tensioner to the right, and then this just comes right off. And here we go. Pull that old belt out. Now we can get the new one. We'll go ahead, we'll release the tensioner pulley to the right, that way it loosens up, and then we'll feed the new one into the correct pattern going around the correct pulleys, release it so it'll take the tension back, and then we're done. So we have our 15 millimeter socket and ratchet, so that way we can bring that tensioner pulley forward and we can get the belt put on. So we have our new belt. We need to remember to feed it the way the diagram said. So what we're going to do, we're going to bring it along the bottom, and I'll get a close-up down in here, but we're going to feed it along the bottom around the crankshaft pulley, and then we're going to go ahead and bring it around the power steering pulley, alternator, the idler, and then around the tensioner, and we'll go ahead and, lay it out the way it needs to go. But let me get a close-up so you can see it better. We're going to start by going around this pulley here, which is the crankshaft pulley. Make sure it's nice and tucked in. Next, it needs to wrap around this one here, the water pump pulley. We'll feed it around the tensioner up here, even though we know that we still need to adjust that. There we go. Now from here, you have it like this. Now we're going to go around the power steering pulley. That's good. And then around the alternator. Now to get it underneath the idler, that's where we're going to have to adjust this. So we'll come in here, bring it down all the way. Okay. Then now we'll just slide it under the idler pulley and then gently release the tensioner. And there we go. Everything is on the way it needs to. Next thing, what I would recommend, just take your hand right along the belt. Make sure everything is seated properly. Go down around the crankshaft pulley, around the water pump, power steering. You want to make sure that nothing is riding on the edge of the pulley to where it could rip up the belt when you start the engine. So everything is good. Everything is seated properly into the grooves. Nice. That wraps up this video on how to replace the V-belt or Serpentine belt on a 5.3 liter V8. This is a General Motors engine. This particular vehicle is a Chevy Trailblazer, but any vehicle that has the 5.3 liter V8 should be the same process to do that same part. Now remember, there's two belts this vehicle takes. So that wraps up this video. I hope that this video was informative for you. I hope it helped you out with any projects you're working on. If you have any questions or comments, please send them in. I would love to hear from you. And as always, I appreciate all the support. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you next time.